few moments that forever alter our course of existence. They pierce through the fabric of time, leaving a permanent mark on humanity. One such moment was the scientific breakthrough and creation of the atomic bomb.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
For those of you who don't know, on July 21st, 2023, director Christopher Nolan's film Oppenheimer will be released to theaters, and I personally believe this is a must-watch. The film will be a portrayal of scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer during his time leading the Manhattan Project, which was the project that created the atomic bombs. The film will be heavily influenced by the Pulitzer Prize winning book American Prometheus, The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer. But you might be asking yourself from the title, why must I watch this movie? Well, I'm gonna break it down for you with really 3 reasons why it's a must-see. That being the director and cast, the visuals, and the storytelling. To kick it off with the first reason, the movie is set to be directed by Christopher Nolan, who is one of the greatest directors of all time and a master of cinema. In fact, he chose to have this whole movie shot on IMAX film, but we will dive a little further into that in a second. And for some reason, if you don't know who Christopher Nolan is, he was the director behind such great films as the Batman trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, Tenet, but the director's chair isn't the only A-list talent we have here. The cast for this movie is loaded. It's one of the most impressive casts I've ever seen. The title character of J. Robert Oppenheimer will be played by Cillian Murphy, with Emily Blunt playing his wife, Kitty Oppenheimer. But also starring in this movie will be Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Josh Hartnett, Florence Pugh, Jack Quaid, Gustav Skarsgård, Olivia Thirlby, Rami Malek, Casey Affleck, Josh Peck, and so many more. Hell, I even heard Gary Oldman is in it for only one scene. But those aren't the only A-list stars. I mean, behind the camera, you have cinematographer Hoyt V. Hoytama. Boy, I hope I pronounced that right because I'm a big fan of his work. Anyway, he shot the film, and I believe it's in very good hands because he's the same cinematographer who was behind Interstellar, Dunkirk, Spectra, and Tenet. So he's worked with Christopher Nolan many times before. But that's enough about the cast and crew. Let's move on to part 2, which is one of the most impressive parts of the film, and that's its visuals. Oppenheimer will be shot on IMAX black and white film, which, if you don't know, this will be the first time in history because this film was made specifically for this movie. While Nolan could have just shot on regular IMAX film and then color graded to black and white, Nolan is too much of a film purist, so instead he went with his new invention. The movie is supposedly mostly black and white and at a runtime of approximately 3 hours. In fact, the IMAX film prints are 11 miles long and weighs over 600 pounds. But that's not the only difficult task to overcome in this film. That's because the big payoff we're all wanting to see, you know, the explosion, well, that was all done practically, not with CGI. That's right, the madman did it. He wants the explosion we see on film to be practical. I don't think he's really gonna launch a nuke though, right? You will be able to witness this in unbelievable resolution due to the film being shot on 70mm IMAX. And for those of you who don't know, I'll keep this short and simple. Most of the regular movies you go see at the theater is shot on 35mm film, which is roughly equivalent to 6K resolution. Oppenheimer will be available on 70mm IMAX film, which you may even see it as 1570 at some theaters, which translates to a mind-boggling 18K resolution. This is extremely impressive and rare. In fact, the last time we've seen any other theatrical release in 70mm IMAX was Dunkirk in 2017. In fact, it's so rare there will only be roughly 30 theaters in the US willing to show it in this format. I'll have a list of all the theaters down in either the description or the comments, just check down below. But if you're anything like me, the closest 70mm IMAX is over 6 hours away, there's still some hope. Some theaters will have the film showing in laser IMAX, which you also may see as 570 IMAX, which is equivalent to 12K, so it's still extremely impressive. But be aware of IMAX Xeon, or some people call it LIMAX, due to it not even having the same aspect ratio of IMAX, so I wouldn't even really waste my money on that. Just pay the regular price if that's your only option. But enough about that. Let's move on to the third point, and in my opinion, the most important point, and that's the storytelling. If you're anything like me, you have severe superhero fatigue. You are sick of Marvel, DC, reboots, recasting, the same blockbuster sequels coming out every summer. So with that being said, in my opinion, if a film that is essentially a biography about an important scientist from the 1950s can get huge attention, tons of critical acclaim, and most importantly, a ton of revenue, then movie studios might be willing to make more, other types of movies other than Avengers 11. You see, if studios feel like there's an audience for something other than mindless popcorn flicks, they might be willing to greenlight other projects. And as a person who loves film, this would be really great. Not only would larger movie productions get to make other movies, but studios might even give smaller indie movie makers a chance to see, so we can see new stories being told. I know I told you there were only 3 sections of this video, but I have a surprise bonus reason why we should all watch this movie. You see, Barbie is set to be released on July 21st, the same day as Oppenheimer. And a few months ago, there was discussion on who will move the date, right? Maybe they want to compete against each other and maximize revenue, but neither one of them broke, and both of them are still set to be released on the 21st, which has led to interesting marketing and memes, which is really funny considering how much hype is behind these movies, yet the different tones and feelings and moods the 2 different films bring, with Barbie being very bright, colorful, happy, Oppenheimer being very dark and moody. So the memes and collaboration is really weird and hilarious, which is why you should go watch this movie, so we can all be part of the meme. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. More videos like this and so much more to come. Anyway, have a great day, guys.